The Sutra of Vajra. Om Mani Padme Hum. The Sutra of Vajra Chapter 1. Om Mani Padme Hum Crystal. This is a story of two protagonists, but for now, we are going to focus on Adamus Hovajra. The scene unfolds with a series of knocks on the door, followed by a familiar voice calling out, "Honey, it's almost time for school. Get ready." In the room, a kid lies in bed, acknowledging the call with a simple, "Okay, Mom," as he reaches over to silence his alarm. As he prepares to start his day, his mother's voice drifts in from the kitchen, "I'm getting dinner ready for you, honey," with a hint of exasperation. Amidst the vibrant chaos, Adamus emerges from his slumber, his tousled hair a testament to a night spent immersed in dreams of heroism. With dark brown skin and hazel eyes that sparkle with determination, he stands before the mirror, his small afro framing his face with a hint of rebelliousness. With a loud yawn and a lazy scratch, he finally rouses himself from his cocoon of blankets, ready to face the day. Adamus, a tempest of energy, erupts from his bed, a flurry of punches and kicks. His room becomes a battleground, the air echoing with imaginary foes. "Watch out! Watch out!" he cries, adrenaline fueling his morning ritual. Adamus's room is a sanctuary adorned with posters of superheroes adorning every inch of its walls. Miniature figurines of these legendary figures line the shelves, creating a kaleidoscope of colors and action-packed scenes. In Adamus' room, amidst the vibrant display of superhero memorabilia, there are also trophies proudly showcased, a testament to his achievements in mixed martial arts. Each trophy gleams with polished metal and engraved plaques, marking the milestones of his journey through the world of combat sports. The shelves are adorned with an array of trophies, ranging from gleaming gold cups to sleek silver statuettes, each representing a victory won through dedication and discipline. Some trophies are larger, signifying championships and major tournaments, while others are smaller, commemorating individual matches and accomplishments. With clothes hastily donned, he hurtles down the stairs, each step a leap toward destiny. Adamus hurried down the stairs, his footsteps echoing through the narrow hallway. The morning light filtered in through the window, casting a soft glow on the worn carpet. His mother, Almesa, stood at the bottom of the stairs, her apron tied securely around her waist. Her long black hair cascades down her back like a waterfall of midnight silk, framing her face with a frame of lustrous darkness. Bright brown eyes sparkle with warmth and wisdom, mirroring the depth of her soul and the love she holds for her son, Adamus. The scent of warm toast and coffee wafted from the kitchen, promising comfort and familiarity. The house was a cozy middle-class home, filled with the warmth of everyday life. Pictures adorned the walls, capturing memories and moments of joy. Each photo featured only Adamus Hovajra and his mother, a testament to their close bond. No other family members were present in the images. "Adamus," Almesa called out, her voice gentle but insistent. "You can't leave yet. I haven't made breakfast." Adamus paused, one hand on the doorknob. His backpack hung heavily from his shoulder, filled with textbooks and notebooks. He glanced back at his mother, her eyes filled with concern. "Mom," Adamus replied, his tone both apologetic and determined. "I gotta go. The bus won't wait." Almesa stepped closer, her hands reaching out to touch his cheek. "Be safe out there," she whispered, her fingers warm against his skin. "And remember, you're my light." Adamus turned to his mother, his voice carrying the quiet weight of conviction. "Mom, the world should be worrying about me," he said, his words steady, almost defiant. "I'm like a diamond unbreakable." A faint smile played on his lips, a blend of affection and determination. "Mom, stop babying me," he added, gently nudging her hands away as she fussed over him. "I've got this." With a playful grin, he began shadowboxing, his movements sharp and precise, the energy around him crackling with his unshakable confidence. As he backed toward the waiting school bus, his mother, Almesa, stepped forward, her concern spilling out despite herself. "No more fights, okay?" she called, her voice a fragile mixture of plea and command. She stood watching him go, her heart caught between pride and worry. Then, in a whisper meant for no one but herself, she sighed, "He's just like his father." The words carried a bittersweet weight, heavy with love, regret. But as he ran down the path toward the waiting bus, the bus driver, a seasoned observer of youthful exuberance, greeted him with a smile that reached her eyes. "Good to see you, Adamus," she said warmly. "How you doing today?" Adamus clenched his fists, muscles taut with quiet resolve. "I'm doing good," he replied, a spark of determination in his voice. He fist-bumped the driver before stepping down the aisle. The school bus was a rolling kaleidoscope of personalities and powers a world of its own. Some kids burned with flickering flames that danced harmlessly across their skin. Others were perfectly ordinary humans, chatting and laughing. One boy strolled upside down along the ceiling, defying gravity as if it were a game. A girl shimmered into partial invisibility, her laughter echoing from nowhere in particular. As Adamus made his way to the back, greetings rang out from all directions. They called in unison, their voices weaving together into a warm chorus that felt like a net of belonging. He dropped into his seat, a small smile tugging at his lips. When the bus finally rolled to a stop, Adamus stepped off with purposeful strides toward the school entrance. But before his hand could reach the door handle, a sudden commotion nearby pulled his attention. Something was happening. There, just outside the school gates, a troubling scene unfolded before his eyes. A group of bullies had cornered a lone figure, their aggressive taunts and actions betraying their intentions. Without hesitation, Adamus sprang into action, his instincts overriding any thought of self-preservation. With swift precision, he launched himself into the fray, his well-practiced sidekick catching one of the attackers off guard. As the assailant stumbled backward, Adamus couldn't help but grin at the familiar face beneath the hood. "Is that you, Dylan?" he exclaimed, a mixture of relief and amusement coloring his voice. "These guys picking on you again?" Dylan, still recovering from the shock of the sudden intervention, nodded weakly from his position on the ground. "Yeah," he admitted, his voice tinged with gratitude. "Thanks for the help again, bro." Dylan stood at 5'7", his frame slender yet with a hint of wiry strength beneath his clothes. His short blonde hair was neatly styled, framing his face in soft waves. Behind a pair of square-rimmed glasses, his eyes, a shade of vibrant blue, held a spark of intelligence and warmth. Freckles sprinkled across his cheeks and nose, adding a youthful charm to his features. Despite his confident stance, there was a subtle awkwardness to his movements, as if he was still growing into his own skin. And when he spoke, his words flowed with a gentle lisp, giving his voice a unique cadence that set him apart. The two kids exchanged bewildered glances, their expressions a mix of confusion and pain as they tried to make sense of what had just transpired. One of them, his face bearing a giant boot mark from the unexpected blow, spoke up first, his voice tinged with incredulity. "Who the hell just kicked me in the face?" he exclaimed, his words laced with both anger and bewilderment. Their eyes then turned upwards, following the direction of the kick, and they saw Adamus standing before them, a figure of both intimidation and resolve. Shaken by the sudden turn of events, they stumbled over their words in a feeble attempt to apologize. "We're sorry, Adamus," one of them managed to stammer out, his voice barely audible over the rush of adrenaline and embarrassment. The admission from the kid on the ground shed light on their misguided intentions. "I forgot my lunch money," he confessed, his voice carrying a note of desperation. "So we figured we would just take his money. He's rich. He's an A-rank citizen. He has more money than all of us." Adamus regarded them with a steely gaze, his expression unreadable yet tinged with a hint of disdain. Adamus's expression softened as he processed the explanation, understanding dawning in his eyes. "Taking someone's money isn't the solution, guys," he responded, his voice tinged with a hint of admonishment. "There are better ways to handle things, even when times are tough. One of the MMA gyms I used to train at is hiring," Adamus continued. "You guys can work there and stop picking on poor Dylan here." The others shook their heads. "We won't pick on him," they said, "but no, we don't want to go to your MMA gym." Adamus extended a hand to help the kid on the ground to his feet. "How about you just get out of here, okay?" Adamus retorted, his tone firm, brooking no argument. He stood his ground as the two kids exchanged nervous glances before scurrying off into the school building, their footsteps a frantic echo down the corridor. Turning his attention to Dylan, Adamus studied him with a blend of curiosity and skepticism as they continued toward the school entrance. "Dylan," Adamus began, his tone curious but probing, "why are you even going to this school? It's a C-ranked school in a C-ranked district." Dylan adjusted his glasses with a calculated motion, his eyes briefly distant, as though weighing the world in his mind. "Yeah, I know," he admitted, a faint smile playing on his lips. "I'm an A-ranked citizen, sure. But this school? It's strategic." His voice carried a quiet, but undeniable confidence. "Being here gives me a better shot at topping my class and getting better grades. That means a better shot at an S-ranked university. I've cracked the code to success." Adamus raised an eyebrow, his skepticism deepening as Dylan tapped his glasses for emphasis, as if they were the source of his logic. "And let's face it," Dylan added with a wry chuckle, "S-ranked citizens aren't exactly known for their hospitality, especially towards someone like me. No blue skin? Yeah, that's a social disadvantage I'd rather avoid." Adamus couldn't help but smirk at Dylan's blunt honesty. "So, you're playing the long game," Adamus mused. Dylan's gaze sharpened, and he adjusted his glasses once more, a quiet determination radiating from him. "Exactly." Dylan simply chuckled in response, a lightness in his demeanor that belied the seriousness of his ambitions. "You need to learn how to fight, bro," Adamus insisted, his concern for his friend's well-being evident in his words. But Dylan waved off his concerns with a dismissive gesture, a knowing smile playing on his lips. "No, that's why I have you," and with that, the two friends shared a laugh. They stepped through the school doors. Dylan and Adamus found seats next to each other in the classroom, their attention drawn to the front as the teacher, a wild-haired scientist with an eccentric demeanor, began to address the class, Professor Reed. His energy was palpable, a whirlwind of excitement and enthusiasm that filled the room. "Everyone, sit down." "Sit down," the teacher exclaimed, his voice booming with an intensity that demanded obedience. Dylan and Adamus exchanged a knowing glance before complying, settling into their seats with a shared sense of anticipation. As they watched the teacher, his movements animated and his gestures grandiose, their curiosity piqued at the subject of the day's lesson. "Today," he announced, his voice carrying a tone of authority, "we're going to learn about the history of powers and the difference between them and magic and the great war that shaped our nation." With a commanding presence, the professor addressed the class, his voice carrying a tone of authority. He announced, capturing the attention of his students. The professor began his lesson by painting a grand picture of their civilization, his voice rich with authority and reverence. "Our great civilization, the grid, one of the most prosperous and advanced countries on our planet, spans an incredible 93 billion light years in diameter," he declared, his hands spreading wide as if to encompass the enormity of their achievement. "We owe much of this prosperity to the guidance of the Galacticos," he continued, his tone brimming with respect. "These aliens have been our protectors and our teachers, shielding us from the wrath of the Sun King with their technology and illuminating the depths of our ignorance. Through their wisdom, we have been able to thrive." The professor paced the room, his gaze moving across the students as he spoke. "It was the Galacticos who helped us construct the grid, our great nation, and fortified it against the dangers of the outside world. Their advancements in technology have allowed us to flourish, to stand tall among the nations and hyperverses of this planet, and to push back the chaos that lies beyond." The professor stood at the front of the room, his voice calm yet filled with gravity as he began to speak. "Today, we embark on a journey to comprehend Omni-Era, our planet unlike any other. But to understand Omni-Era, we must first grasp the fundamental layers of existence itself, beginning with the very concepts of the universe, the multiverse, the hyperverse, and finally, the omniverse." He paused, allowing the words to settle before continuing. "Let's start with the concept of a universe. A universe is infinite in its own scope. It contains everything: galaxies, stars, planets, civilizations, all bound by specific laws of physics and time. Though it appears boundless, a universe is, in fact, a part of a much larger structure. While it is infinite in size, there are higher dimensions at play, beyond what our minds can truly fathom. Space, time, and matter are intricately woven together, but a universe is merely a single thread in an even grander tapestry." He let that settle for a moment before adding, "Now imagine a multiverse, not just one universe, but an infinite array of universes stacked on top of each other, each with its own unique laws and realities. A multiverse is a realm of infinite possibilities." It contains not only infinite universes, but infinite timelines branching off from each universe, expanding into every conceivable direction. The possibilities here are endless, each universe within the multiverse representing a new iteration of existence. The professor drew a deep breath, his tone growing more intense. And then we reach the hyperverse, the highest known level of existence to most. While a universe or multiverse may contain infinite space, timelines, and dimensionalities, the hyperverse is beyond all measure. It is an infinite totality containing every possible and impossible reality stacked across higher dimensions. Imagine the hyperverse as the fabric itself, an unfathomable entity of infinite layers. Each layer contains not only universes, but entire multiverses, each with its own infinite timelines and dimensionalities. The power here is not just greater, it is infinitely greater, beyond anything you can possibly imagine. He continued, his voice growing more solemn. But even the hyperverse is not the end. Beyond it lies the omniverse, the absolute totality of all existence. Every universe, every multiverse, every hyperverse is contained within the omniverse. It is the supreme all, the final frontier, the throne upon which all realities sit. If the universe is a thread, and the multiverse a tapestry, and the hyperverse the infinite weave of tapestries, then the omniverse is the loom itself. The professor's voice deepened. To understand Omniterra, our planet, we must grasp its place within the cosmic hierarchy. It is not merely part of a universe, multiverse, or even a hyperverse. Omniterra is a hyperverse-class planetary entity, an anomaly within the omniverse itself. Its size defies all measure. Infinite upon infinite, layered realities form its body. Entire hyperversal constructs fold into its foundation, and what once marked the edge of existence is now only a fragment within it. Omniterra's mass warps space-time and spans multiple higher dimensional states, bending the laws of physics and reality. It devours entire dimensions not to destroy them, but to reshape them. Each absorbed reality becomes a microdimension scattered across its land, further amplifying its infinite complexity. And the rings around Omniterra? They are not mere debris. They are entire dimensions and hyperversal realms, once sovereign, now caught in its gravitational prison, endlessly circling a world vast enough to rival a living omniversal entity. Omniterra is no ordinary planet. It is becoming creation itself, consuming, reshaping, and rewriting the laws that govern reality. He paused for a moment, allowing the silence to deepen. Now, the most unsettling truth, beyond the infinite expanse of Omniterra, beyond the rings that encircle it, there is nothing. Nothingness. That is the true nature of what lies beyond the rings of Omniterra. Outside of this structure, there is no more universe, no more multiverse, no more hyperverse. There is only emptiness. There is nothing else. He let the weight of these words linger in the air as the class sat in stunned silence, trying to fathom the enormity of what had been revealed. Now let me explain how this happened, how our world became what it is today. His voice echoed with ancient gravity, eyes distant as if seeing across time. 1 billion years ago, he continued, his voice solemn, the great accident happened. Meteors rained down upon our planet, shattering continents and destroying 80% of civilization. But from the ashes, humanity rose, reborn with extraordinary abilities. These abilities, known as superpowers, became the essence of our existence, the very fabric of our being, he proclaimed, his voice imbued with a reverence that echoed through time itself. With the arrival of the meteors that struck our planet, Earth began to change not just in body, but in destiny. He stepped forward, his silhouette framed by the swirling stars. At first, we thought it was a mutation, a mere shift in energy. But we were wrong. Earth didn't just change, it began to grow. Slowly at first, expanding outward, absorbing nearby moons, planets, and even stars. But the growth didn't stop there. It devoured entire systems, reached beyond neighboring constellations, and eventually engulfed our entire galaxy. The Milky Way was not destroyed, it was consumed, folded into the very fabric of something far greater. He raised his hand to the sky, as if holding the memory of its expansion. It consumed and replaced the galaxy itself. And it didn't stop there. Earth surpassed the bounds of the universe, then the multiverse, growing into something far beyond our comprehension. The laws of physics bent around it. Dimensions were devoured. Realities folded into its ever-expanding mass. His voice darkened with awe. And then, Earth shattered its own limits. It burst free from its hyperversal crystal, a sealed domain that even gods dare not trespass. But Omniterra broke through. Not only that, it began to absorb other hyperversal crystals, realities, timelines, and spaces once thought eternal, now consumed. He looked out across the infinite sky, filled not with stars, but drifting shards of worlds long absorbed. Omniterra is no longer a planet. It is a living, breathing superentity, an ever-expanding realm that defies measurement and transcends comprehension. It breaks the very fabric of logic, assimilating galaxies, swallowing domains, and unraveling the boundaries of existence with every passing moment. He paused, letting the silence carry the weight of his final words. The superpowers were diverse, each representing a force of nature, he proclaimed, his voice resonating with reverence. Fire, earth, water, air, lightning, mutation, and the mightiest of them all, sun. These powers were not mere abilities, they were manifestations of the very elements that shaped the world, he explained, his words carrying the weight of ancient wisdom. Across the globe, individuals manifested these powers, becoming gods in their own right, he proclaimed, his voice commanding the attention of all who listened. Our planet is divided into 7 great factions, also known as realms, though to call them regions would be a mistake. Each realm is a colossal domain of layered infinities, stacked upon one another like astral towers. Though they share the same planetary body, each realm houses multiple hyperverses, existing in parallel yet bound to a single world. He paused, letting the idea settle in the minds of his audience. These realms are not merely places, they are dimensional ecosystems, where time fractures, space folds, and reality bends differently with each layer. Their true scale cannot be measured, only experienced or survived. Each realm harbored its champions, its rulers, its titans of strength. And as the world embraced these powers, it splintered into 7 factions, each vying for dominance. In the fiery realm of fire, he declared, flames dance at the whim of their masters, shaping a domain of relentless passion and unyielding will. Rivers of molten rock carve glowing scars across an endless horizon, feeding oceans of lava that churn like living beasts. This realm has infinite hyperversal in it, with fire realms stacked like smoldering layers of reality. Across them sprawl countless massive countries, each teeming with creatures that embody flame wildfire elementals, magma serpents, phoenix flocks, ashborn giants, and molten leviathans. Every nation burns with its own nature, volcanic empires of brass colossi, emberwood jungles dripping molten sap, and furnace seas of liquid fire. At the empire's heart lies the dominion of Ignivolt, its capital sharing the same name. Here rules the god of flames, a sovereign whose throne of living fire shapes the destiny of all realms, commanding every hyperverse and ruling every country within his domain, his will rippling through infinity like heat across stone. In the realm of earth, he intoned, mountains rise like the bones of the planet, their jagged peaks reaching into the heavens as if to pierce the stars. Here, colossal ranges some stretching into the cosmic void dominate the horizon in every direction, their shadows falling across deserts that sprawl without end. The ground itself breathes, quaking with constant tremors as if the realm's heart beats beneath the soil. Most creatures here are giants, towering above forests and rivers, colossi of living stone, root-bound serpents glimmering with gemstones, and winged titans whose crystal feathers glint like constellations. In the Earth realm, there are infinite hyperverses, each its own vast domain, folding and stacking to create layers of hyperdimensional landscapes where gravity bends to the will of its rulers. At the core of them all lies the capital of the Earth realm, Thronolith. From this colossal city of stone and crystal, the King of Earth rules over every hyperverse and every country within his realm. The people here are peaceful, their lives entwined with the land's rhythms. They shape mountains with a gesture, call rivers to change course, and still the fury of quakes with a touch. The earth gods, countless in number, preside from crystal caverns and molten halls, guided by the will of their king, whose authority reaches through all realms like bedrock beneath the cosmos. In the realm of water, he continued, his voice as fluid as the waves. The tides are the heartbeat of existence, rising and falling across oceans without end. In this realm, there are infinite hyperverses, each filled with seas, rivers, and coasts shaped by the will of its rulers. The skies here hold more moons than anywhere else, their light painting silver paths across the waves. This realm is rich with islands and lakes, vast swamps thick with strange vegetation, and people who make their homes upon scattered shores and drifting archipelagos. Beneath the surface lies an empire of light and shadow, coral citadels that shimmer with living bioluminescence, trenches so deep they touch the edge of the void, and undercurrents strong enough to drag entire worlds into their pull. Its waters teem with extraordinary life, leviathans the size of continents, serpents coiled around dimensional pillars, and creatures woven from mist and foam. The god of the water realm rules from the capital city of Thalassara, a jewel of the deep, commanding every hyperverse and every country in his domain. His will shapes storms, summons tsunamis, and guides the currents that flow between all worlds. The people of this realm live in harmony with the sea's shifting moods, its calm, its fury, and its infinite depth. In the realm of air, he declared, the winds whisper secrets of freedom and agility, carrying the hopes of its people to the farthest reaches of the sky. Endless skies stretch in every direction, vast oceans of clouds swirling in luminous patterns that shift with the moods of the air gods. This realm is famed for its magical creatures, flocks of radiant birds, winged beasts of impossible size, thunder-winged dragons, and feathered serpents whose bodies shine like ribbons of light. Most cities and countries drift in the heavens, built upon colossal sky islands, floating continents, and crystal spires suspended in the air. There is barely any land below, only scattered peaks that pierce the lower clouds. Infinite layers of aerial hyperverses unfold above and below, each with its own skies, constellations, and windborne currents. The capital is Zephyrosa, where the god of air resides, yet the most powerful nation here is our own, the country of the grid. Though not the capital, we rule over this entire realm, and even the god of air bows to our president and king. The people here are born with the breath of the sky in their veins, bending storms to their will, gliding between realities, and riding the jet streams of entire worlds. In the realm of air, to live is to fly, and to rule is to master the infinite skies. In the realm of lightning, he declared, his voice charged with energy, there are infinite hyperverses, each one a storm-lashed world of its own. Storms never sleep here. Jagged bolts split the heavens, their light etching the sky in violent flashes. Thunder rolls like the roar of titans, shaking mountains to their roots. Across an endless horizon, lightning storms sweep through infinite skies and strike infinite lands, layered in a storm cape that stretches beyond comprehension. Here dwell the lightning gods, sovereigns of raw power and unmatched speed. At their head stands Odin, the Allfather, and his family, with Thor the Thunderer at his side, wielding the storms as both weapon and law. In the exact center of this realm rises a massive higher dimensional construct, the World Tree, its branches stretching across realities, its roots piercing every hyperverse, channeling the realm's infinite energy. Colossal giants, their bodies aglow with veins of electric fire, stride through the land like living mountains, each step sending ripples of thunder through the skies. Cities of steel and crystal cling to storm-forged cliffs and drift suspended among the clouds, their towers humming with the endless power of the tempest. Its rulers feast well, reign long, and decide the fate of all beneath them with the flicker of a thought or the strike of a bolt. In the realm of mutation, he said, his voice sinking into a low whisper, reality itself unravels. The land twists into impossible shapes, mountains that bleed, rivers that flow upward, forests made of bone and sinew. It is a place of nightmares, where the laws of nature are not broken. They are rewritten entirely. There is no capital here, no unifying rule. Even the gods are fractured, embodiments of pure chaos that war as often with each other as with the mortals below. Kingdoms are rare and short-lived, crumbling almost as soon as they form. Only small fractions of people manage to work together, clinging to fragile alliances in a realm where trust dissolves like smoke. Just setting foot here is dangerous. The realm itself seeps into your mind, twisting thought and perception until you can no longer tell dream from waking. Infinite hyperverses are scattered through the realm, each more unstable than the last. Black holes tear the skies, dragging in fragments of entire worlds and spitting them back as warped, maddened echoes. Lightning made of shadow, fire that freezes, stone that screams, nothing is impossible here. It births more monsters than any other place, giants with too many eyes, warriors fused to living weapons, and things whose shifting shapes cannot be named. In the realm of mutation, survival is not about strength. It is about becoming something the horrors themselves will fear. In the realm of the sun, he proclaimed, his voice blazing with awe, there are infinite hyperverses, each bathed in the light of countless stars. Unlike any other realm, here the skies burn with suns beyond number, great golden spheres, crimson giants, blue-white infernos, and radiant orbs of living flame. Everywhere you go, there is a sun overhead, its light feeding the land and the life that thrives upon it. This is a world of abundance, endless fields bursting with crops, oceans teeming with life, forests heavy with fruit. Nutrients flow through the very air, and famine is a concept unknown. The realm is the perfect world, where nothing runs out and every breath feels like renewal. The people here are born with the power of exploding suns coursing through their veins, unmatched in strength and majesty. Most can magnify their abilities at will, ascending into blinding superforms that can outshine even the greatest stars. Multiple sun gods hold dominion here, each a living embodiment of stellar fury and life-giving warmth, but above them all stands one ruler. The Sun King, whose power eclipses all others, commands not only the sun gods, but the deities of every realm. From his capital, the great kingdom of Zaragrad, his word radiates across the infinite hyperverses like light across the void, shaping the fate of all worlds under the suns. At this time, he was the ruler of our planet, Omni Terra. The Sun King ruled with unrelenting cruelty, draining resources from other realms and their hyperverses, bending kings, queens, and even the gods of distant worlds to his will. His power was feared beyond comprehension, unmatched by any being alive. Those who defied him saw their kingdoms erased with a single gesture, entire hyperverses obliterated at the flick of his finger. Every throne bowed to him, every ruler trembled in his presence. He was an unstoppable force of domination, his wrath swift and absolute. Until one day, the scientist continued, his voice carrying the weight of centuries, there came a time when the other realms could no longer tolerate the Sun King's cruel reign. His tyranny had stretched far too long, and the realms, each with their own ancient powers, had grown weary of his oppression. He paused, letting the silence hang heavy in the air before continuing. And so they rose up, united in their shared hatred of the Sun King. Fire, once a raging force of destruction, allied with water, taming its fury and using it to forge a new path. Earth, once a solid, immovable foundation, worked in harmony with air, creating storms that could tear down mountains. Even chaos, the wildest of forces, sought to reign in its own monstrous creations, sharing them with the others to bring down their common enemy. The scientist continued, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. There came a time when the other realms could no longer endure the Sun King's cruel reign. His tyranny had stretched across eons, his hand choking the lifeblood from countless worlds. And so, the realms each with their own ancient powers cast aside their rivalries and rose together in defiance. Fire, the raging heart of destruction, gathered its blazing gods and legions of molten titans, forging weapons from the cores of dying stars. Water summoned colossal leviathans from the depths and wove storms so vast they drowned entire hyperverses. Earth called upon its mountain-sized colossi and raised walls of unbreakable stone to shield the allied armies, while air unleashed hurricanes that shredded continents to dust. Even chaos, wild and untamed, gathered its most grotesque and powerful creations, unleashing beasts that could shatter the minds of lesser gods. They marched as one gods, giants, warriors, and beasts, their weapons gleaming with divine energy, their magic shaking the very foundations of reality. Hyperverses burned and fell, suns imploded, and continents crumbled beneath the scale of their war. The skies split with explosions brighter than creation's first light. Kingdom after kingdom fell, yet the Sun King stood unbroken, meeting their fury with the force of a trillion blazing suns. The war raged for decades, its battles echoing across time itself, scarring realities that would never heal. For centuries, the conflict remained locked in a brutal stalemate, neither side able to deliver the final blow. Kingdoms rose and fell, hyperverses burned and were rebuilt, yet the Sun King still stood, and the Alliance still fought. But do you know why they ultimately failed? The professor asked, his voice now laced with an unsettling calm. It was because the Sun King, in his boundless cunning, had been preparing for this very moment long before the first strike was ever thrown. He knew the realms would one day unite against him, and so, for decades, for centuries, he wove his plans in secret, forging weapons, gathering powers, and setting traps across the infinite hyperverses. When the time came, they were already fighting on his terms. In a chilling revelation, the professor's voice grew grave. In the hidden depths of each realm, the Sun King, aided by his brother, Miyamoto Yamamoto, a man with no powers yet unmatched in cunning, traveled across worlds and through countless hyperverses. They gathered the primeval essence of each realm, studying their secrets, learning their cultures, and understanding their strengths and weaknesses better than the realm's own rulers. From there, Miyamoto Yamamoto created a form of magic, the professor continued, his words heavy with significance. He combined the essence of the 7 realms with his mastery of the toroidal energy field. A toroidal energy field is an invisible, donut-shaped structure that surrounds all living beings. This field interacts dynamically with both the elements in the environment and those within the body. Since the human body contains elements found throughout the omniverse, it forms a continuous exchange with this energy field. The human body's energy integrates with the energy from the 7 chakra centers, forming a cohesive system that mirrors the interconnectedness of all matter and energy in the cosmos. This toroidal field, present in every creature, functions as a conduit for universal energy. Miyamoto Yamamoto harnessed this universal energy, mixing the essence of all 7 realms with his mastery of the toroidal energy field. This synthesis gave birth to a unique form of magic called Toru Meho. The professor's smile held a hint of sadness as he recounted the tale. The Sun King and his brother, Miyamoto Yamamoto, meticulously handpicked and kidnapped the chosen few, children plucked from their realms, to be forged into samurais. Guided by the celestial fires of destiny, the samurai were not merely warriors, but living embodiments of the cosmos itself. Trained in the ancient arts, every stroke of their blade was an extension of the omniverse will. They were masters not only of martial skill, but of the mystic energies that coursed through the seven realms. Their souls, ablaze with Toru Meiho, the primordial magic that governs the forces of reality, were imprinted with the essence of all realms, making them paragons of unimaginable power. With such might, they stood as an unassailable force, a presence that shaped the very balance of existence. The samurai's influence was felt across the realms as they struck down gods and rulers with cold, calculated precision. Their blades, sharp as the will of the Sun King himself, severed the hearts of those who dared oppose him. Yet their greatest weapon was their ability to sow discord and chaos among the realms. Through stealth and subterfuge, the samurai assassinated key leaders in each realm, turning allies into enemies and ensuring that no realm could ever trust another again. The Sun King's cunning plan had worked perfectly. The other realms, now fractured and divided, could no longer unite against him. At the heart of the samurai's force stood the greatest of them all, Miyamoto Yamamoto, the Sun King's brother. Miyamoto was not only the leader of the samurai, but also the most powerful magic user in all the realms. His mastery of Toru Meiho allowed him to harness the seven elemental styles of magic: air, fire, water, lightning, earth, mutation, and Sunday. Each of these elements was tied to a realm's essence, and Musashi could wield them as effortlessly as breathing. His mastery over these elements made him an unstoppable force, a being capable of reshaping reality itself. It was through his hands that the Sun King's grand design came to fruition. Miyamoto was not just a warrior. He was a harbinger of change, the shadow that fell upon every realm, bringing destruction and confusion wherever he tread. But one day, they realized they had been bred and trained from childhood not as noble defenders of their realms, but as pawns in a dark game of power and control. Miyamoto Yamamoto realized he was foolish to follow his brother's path, seeing the cruelty in his leadership. Enraged by this betrayal of trust, the samurai cast off the shackles of the Sun King's influence and forged their own path. Miyamoto Musashi, still their leader, led them in their quest for redemption and freedom. Everywhere they went, he taught humans Toru Meiho so they could protect themselves from those with powers, especially from his brother's tyranny. With newfound resolve, the samurai established their own leadership inside the air realm. Under Miyamoto Yamamoto's guidance, they honed their skills and trained tirelessly. As soon as the samurai turned their backs on the Sun King and abandoned his side, the forces of the Six Realms launched a swift and merciless counterattack. As the Six Realms united in a desperate bid to overthrow the tyrannical reign of the Sun King, they launched a coordinated assault on the realm of the Sun Gods. Armies clashed, and the skies burned with the fury of battle as the forces of light and darkness collided in a cataclysmic confrontation. For several harrowing months, the epic struggle raged on, each side unleashing their most devastating powers in a bid for supremacy. The Sun Gods, wielding their unparalleled might, unleashed torrents of divine energy upon their foes, their brilliance illuminating the battlefield with an intensity that seared the very soul. Despite the valiant efforts of the combined forces of the Six Realms, the power of the Sun Gods proved overwhelming. With each blow, they struck down their adversaries with unrelenting force, their dominion absolute and their victory seemingly assured. In the end, the Sun Gods emerged triumphant, their power unchallenged and their realm secure. The armies of the Six Realms lay broken and defeated, their hopes dashed upon the shores of despair. As the dust settled and the echoes of battle faded into the ether, the Sun Gods stood as the undisputed rulers of the cosmos, their reign unassailable and their glory eternal. Yet, he declared, his voice ringing with defiance, small factions of each realm, refusing to submit to the Sun King's rule, sought refuge on distant islands. The islands are located in the air realm, determined to start anew and build a civilization free from tyranny. For many years, these courageous pioneers labored tirelessly, their determination unwavering as they laid the foundations of their fledgling society on the western shores of the planet. However, progress was slow, hindered by the scars of past oppression and the challenges of forging a new path in a world scarred by conflict. It marked the first instance in history, aside from the samurai, of a city where all seven realms worked together. Then, one fateful day, a spaceship descended from the heavens, its sleek form cutting through the skies like a beacon of hope. Out of that spacecraft emerged the Galacticos, an enigmatic race of blue-skinned aliens, their arrival heralding a new era of possibility and renewal. With advanced technology and boundless generosity, the Galacticos extended a helping hand to the struggling settlers, providing them with the tools and resources they needed to rebuild their shattered civilization. Slowly but surely, under the guidance of their extraterrestrial benefactors, the once desolate lands began to flourish once more, teeming with life and promise. As the years passed, the settlers looked to the stars with gratitude, knowing that their newfound prosperity was thanks to the intervention of their blue-skinned saviors. And as they worked side by side with their alien allies, they forged bonds of friendship and cooperation that transcended the boundaries of race and creed, united in their shared vision of a brighter future for all. As the Galacticos and human beings toiled side by side, their collaboration bore fruit, propelling civilization forward at an astonishing pace. With the aid of advanced technology gifted by the Galacticos, innovations such as flying cars and robots became commonplace, ushering in an era of unprecedented progress and prosperity. But as the west side of the planet flourished, jealousy and resentment festered in the hearts of those dwelling in the north. The Sun King, ever hungry for power and dominance, could not bear to see his former territories thriving without him. In a bid to reclaim what he believed was rightfully his, the Sun King marshaled his forces for war. The clash between the two factions was fierce and unyielding, each side unwilling to back down from their claim to the land. So our greatest hero, Accelerin, was sent to the battlefield to face the indomitable Sun King, the mightiest warrior known to man. Their clash ignited the skies, the brilliance of their power painting reality itself. For days on end, they waged an unforgiving war in the air realm, their every blow echoing across the cosmos. As they grappled with one another, it became apparent that their strengths were evenly matched, each refusing to yield. Yet, in a moment of profound realization, they both saw the futility of their struggle. With a solemn nod, they reached a truce, setting aside their differences to forge a new path forward. Together, they commanded their armies to erect a monument of peace, a colossal wall spanning the unfathomable distance of 1.314 trillion light years. This barrier, known as the Olympus Divide, cleaved the planet, separating our great country, the grid, located in the air realm, from the rest of the realms. So, class, I hope you've learned something today. The scientist addressed the attentive students, his voice carrying a note of solemnity. Never leave the safety of the grid. The outside world is fraught with danger and uncertainty. He paused for emphasis before continuing, and remember, anyone you encounter with superpowers, their abilities originate from the 7 realms: fire, water, lightning, air, earth, mutation, and Sunday. Each realm bestows unique powers upon its inhabitants. Leaning in closer to his audience, he added, just like the samurai, you can learn Toru Meiho to harness these abilities. With training and discipline, you too can wield the powers of the realms and navigate the challenges that lie beyond the safety of our borders. Dylan glanced over at Adamus, a hint of frustration evident in his expression. What are you doing? Are you even paying attention? He questioned, noting Adamus's focus on his notebook. Adamus, unfazed, continued to sketch superheroes with a practiced hand. Yes, I am paying attention. I can multitask. Relax, he replied casually, though his attention remained divided. Dylan bristled at the suggestion to relax. Don't tell me to relax. You're the one who wants to be a superhero so bad, he retorted, his tone tinged with annoyance. Adamus sighed, setting his pencil down for a moment. You know I can't. I've got no powers, he admitted, his voice tinged with a hint of resignation. Dylan's frustration boiled over into a yell. Well, if you paid attention in class, the teacher just said you could learn Toru Meiho. Adamus glanced up from his notebook, meeting Dylan's gaze with a resigned expression. I heard him, he replied softly. But I'm not smart enough to learn Toru Meiho. Plus, you have to go to an S-rank school. Before Dylan could respond, the teacher's voice cut through the tension. Silence, he commanded, a hint of exasperation in his tone. I'm almost done. Adamus returned his attention to his drawing, his thoughts swirling with a mixture of longing and frustration. The teacher addressed the class, drawing their attention to Devin Myers, with his distinctive green skin and reptilian appearance, often draws attention wherever he goes. His scales shimmer with hues of emerald and jade, resembling the scales of a lizard. Despite his unusual appearance, Devin carries himself with confidence and poise. With a pointed gesture. What is your superpower? He inquired. Devin, with a mischievous grin, responded, I spit acid out of my mouth, eliciting laughter from his classmates. The teacher nodded knowingly. You see, class? That means his powers originate from the water realm, or the realm of mutation, because of your appearance. Those are your ancestors. They still live outside the grid. It's a water ability, a power. Professor Reed addressed the class with a smile. I hope you've all absorbed a wealth of knowledge today. Now, it's time for our excursion to the museum. The students began gathering their belongings, their murmurs blending into the air. Adamus leaned over to Dylan, whispering, I think I might slip away today. Not feeling up for this. Dylan nudged him gently, urging, come on, man. Just stick it out for the museum trip. Afterwards, we'll hit up some video games. But only if you're with us. Adamus's nod was a silent agreement, arms crossed in contemplation. All right, Dylan, he conceded. You've got yourself a deal. With the terms settled, they both stepped onto the school bus, anticipation humming in the air. Dylan wandered through the grand halls of the museum, his eyes wide as he soaked in the kaleidoscope of history and wonder that surrounded him. The museum was a marvel of architecture, vaulted ceilings stretched impossibly high, adorned with murals depicting the march of time from the prehistoric age to the digital era. Towering dinosaur skeletons dominated one wing, their bones meticulously reconstructed to recreate titanic creatures frozen mid-roar. The air seemed to hum with the echo of ancient roars and the faint whispers of an untamed world. In another section, the history of their country was displayed in intricate detail. A row of glass cases held swords, crowns, and ceremonial artifacts from the reigns of long-past kings and presidents, each labeled with dates and tales of their leadership. Oil portraits lined the walls, the stern gazes of national leaders seeming to follow visitors as they passed. The exhibit on modern history featured interactive displays, holographic recreations of pivotal moments, where figures of the past seemed to step out of the shadows to tell their stories. Meanwhile, Adamus moved through the exhibits with a steady, measured pace, his eyes lingering on each piece as though searching for hidden meaning. His gaze darted from the toothy grin of a Tyrannosaurus Rex to the delicate embroidery of a queen's ceremonial gown. The glint of golden crowns and ancient maps held his attention for a moment before he continued onward. At last, he stopped in front of the centerpiece of the museum's most mysterious collection, a mesmerizing green crystal. Displayed in its own custom-built display case, the artifact rested within a cylinder of bulletproof glass, as if the very air around it needed guarding. It radiated an ethereal glow, casting soft emerald light that danced across the polished marble floor. The crystal pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat, its energy stirring something deep in Adamus's chest. Beside the crystal's enclosure stood a companion artifact, an ancient tablet of solid gold, its surface etched with symbols that shimmered in the ambient light. The tablet had been discovered alongside the crystal, the two forever linked in the museum's records, their origins a riddle scholars had yet to solve. His curiosity ablaze, he turned to Professor Reed, whose eyes gleamed with scholarly zeal. What marvel is this? Adamus inquired, his voice reverberating through the sacred halls of the museum. With a knowing smile, Professor Reed leaned in, eager to share the secrets of the enigmatic artifact. The newfound crystal, he began, his voice carrying the weight of centuries-old lore. Recently unearthed by our intrepid team, it holds within it the echoes of ancient civilizations and the mysteries of forgotten epics. Legends intertwine with reality, weaving a tapestry of wonder and intrigue. Restless murmurs permeated the classroom, a chorus of impatience yearning to move on. Yet, Adamus remained steadfast in his quest for knowledge, his eyes alight with a thirst for understanding. Yes, please, he implored. Illuminate us with its history. The concept of the Professor Reed's voice resonated through the hushed museum chamber, drawing the attention of the curious students. His eyes gleamed with reverence as he gestured toward the magnificent gem displayed under a protective glass case. Behold, he declared, the Om Mani Padme Hum crystal, a relic celebrated by an ancient tribe known as Bodhi Zen tribe. These enigmatic people exist beyond the boundaries of our modern world, living outside the grid, their roots stretching back hundreds of millions of years. The students leaned in, captivated. Dylan exchanged a knowing glance with Adamus, both sensing that this was no ordinary gemstone. Legend weaves a fascinating tapestry, Professor Reed continued. The Bodhi Zen tribe once wielded the Om Mani Padme Hum power to protect their people from celestial beings gods, if you will. They channeled its energy, creating a shield against cosmic forces. The energy from the crystal can counter any attack and send it back 100 times stronger. Adamus raised his hand. But how, he asked. How did they harness such ancient power? The professor's smile held a touch of mystery. My young seeker, he replied. That remains a secret lost to time. But our modern age is not without its own quests. Our scientists at Pluto Industries sought to unlock the diamond's potential. They tried everything: rituals, incantations, even placing it within the Large Hadron Collider. Adamus's interruption sent ripples of laughter through the classroom. Did any of those scientists try eating the crystal? He blurted out, his eyes alight with mischief. The professor's bemused look slid into mild exasperation. No, he replied. That's ridiculous. On the ancient tablet, the words glowed faintly, as though lit from within by a truth too old for time. Thus it is written. Before there were beginnings, before even the things that beginnings rest upon, there was what has always been and always will be, the boundless sunyata, the black lotus. Before the breath of worlds, before even the thought of existence stirred, there was neither light nor dark, neither form nor formlessness. All was still. All was one. From the womb of the unborn void, 3 sacred eggs came forth uncreated, unsummoned, self-arising. Within them lay the seeds of divine balance. In the silence, they hatched, and from them emerged the first 3. The God of creation, who gave body to the formless. The God of life and death, who opened the gate of becoming and release. The God of time, who turned the wheel and kept its motion. Each took up their dominion, and in harmony, they shaped the early realm. From the hands of the Creator arose multitudes, gods of mountain and sea, wind and fire, light and dream. And among them was born the one who would later turn, the God of stars, radiant in beauty, mighty in will. But the God of stars grew prideful. He looked upon the mortal world and desired worship, incense, and veneration. Yet the Creator spoke with calm truth. We are not to be worshipped. We are to serve. The stars exist not to be adored, but to give light. And so, the God of stars turned away from the Dharma. He consumed the poisons of the cosmos: hatred, greed, delusion, and from their union became Ravana, the devourer of light, the fallen radiance. A demon not by birth, but by choice. Ravana rose like a shadow upon heaven and earth, and the cries of gods were like wind through dead trees. He broke the thrones of the high, shattered the altars of the wise, and scattered the balance of all realms. Even the first 3, in silence, withdrew from the broken harmony. The age grew dark. Mortal hearts faltered. Dharma was torn. Yet from the infinite compassion beyond form, Prajnaparamita, the mother of wisdom, descended in luminous silence. From her boundless mercy were born 7 trillion Buddhas, seeds of awakening scattered across dimensions. 2 among them shone brightest. Vajrapi, the thunder bearer, protector of righteous strength. Avalokiteshvara, the thousand-eyed one, guardian of mercy and the suffering. But even the great mother could not escape Ravana's wrath. She was struck down before her sons, her light returning to the void. Vajrapi, consumed by rage, rose in righteous fury, but fell beneath Ravana's abyssal power. When Avalokiteshvara found his brother's broken vessel, he did not scream, nor curse the heavens. Instead, he wept not from weakness, but from infinite love. In silence, he took his brother into his own being. Strength and compassion became one. He rose not as a god, but as the path. In the space between all worlds, Avalokiteshvara stood before Ravana. And with a voice that caused demons to tremble and stars to still, he uttered, "O my Padmehash." The sacred mantra echoed across the realms. It turned Ravana's power inward, unraveling the darkness he had become. And with a single breath, the Lord of Compassion cast Ravana into the endless void, beyond rebirth, beyond name. But in the stillness that followed, there was nothing. Ravana's rampage had undone the weave of existence. The omniverse itself had perished. And so, Avalokiteshvara, whose heart held all sentient beings, began anew. From his tears bloomed galaxies. From his breath came time. From his voice, form. He recreated the entire omniverse, not from power, but from compassion perfected. The first 3 bowed before him, for in his stillness he had surpassed them. Before withdrawing into the lotus beyond form, Avalokiteshvara offered to use a final gift, the Om My Padme H crystal, a jewel not made of matter, but of awakened intention. It is said that so long as this crystal remains, the path of compassion cannot be lost. This is the truth, etched upon sacred stone, hidden until the age of great need. Thus ends the tablet of the first compassion. As the class moved toward the next section of the museum, Adamus appeared to casually squat down, ostensibly to tie his shoe. But this was no ordinary shoelace adjustment. Leaning in close to Dylan, his voice lowered to a conspiratorial whisper. "Bro," he said, his tone urgent yet hushed, "stay right here. I've got a plan." Dylan raised an eyebrow, confusion flickering across his features. "What are you talking about?" Adamus grinned, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Just watch my back," he urged, his excitement palpable. But before Dylan could respond, panic flashed across his face. "The class is getting ahead of us," he muttered, a sense of urgency creeping into his voice. As Dylan turned to catch up with the group, a sudden commotion caught his attention. Adamus was visibly struggling, clutching at his throat as if he were choking. Concerned, Dylan rushed to his side, his words tumbling out in a flurry. "I'll call for help," he exclaimed. But before he could act, Adamus, with a desperate gasp, took a giant gulp, swallowing something. Dylan knelt beside Adamus, concern etched into his features. "That was a close one. You almost choked to death. What were you eating?" he asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. As Dylan glanced up, his eyes narrowing in suspicion, Adamus burst into laughter. "You told me to learn magic." "So I'm learning magic," he quipped between gasps for air. Dylan's laughter mingled with incredulity. "It doesn't work like that. All you're gonna do is, ahem, poop out some diamonds and crystals," he retorted, unable to contain his amusement. Adamus finished, his grin widening. "Maybe, but think about it, Dylan. What if this is how it works?" Just then, Professor Reed's voice cut through the moment, a reminder of the impending end to their field trip. Guys, hurry up. The field trip's almost over. It's time to catch the bus, he called out, prompting Dylan and Adamus to scramble to their feet and join the rest of the group. As Dylan and Adamus settled into their seats on the bus, Adamus couldn't contain his excitement. Adamus leaned in, his eyes wide. I can feel it, he whispered. The cosmic resonance, the very fabric of reality humming beneath my skin. Dylan raised an eyebrow. What you feel is diarrhea, he deadpanned. You should go to the hospital. Like, right now. He urged, genuine worry lacing his words. Adamus scoffed, a hint of defensiveness creeping into his tone. You're just jealous because I'm smarter than you and those scientists, he retorted, brushing off Dylan's concern. As the bus came to a stop and they stumbled out onto the sidewalk, the arcade beckoned a haven of pixelated dreams and fluorescent nostalgia. Adamus's eyes gleamed. Time for some real magic, he declared. They stepped inside, Dylan and Adamus disembarked and made their way to the arcade. Engrossed in a competitive game of fighting, their banter continued. Sophia watched from the background, her curly hair framing her face as she chuckled at the ongoing game. Her curly hair danced around her face, framing her features with a sense of playful elegance. With brown skin adorned with freckles that seemed to sprinkle across her cheeks like stardust, she radiated an undeniable warmth and charm. At 20 years old, Sophia possessed a youthful energy that shone through her bright yellow eyes, sparkling with curiosity and amusement. Her long, cascading curls swayed with each chuckle that escaped her lips, a visual symphony of joy. How many times are you going to lose in a row, Adamus? She teased, her laughter infectious. I've never seen you beat Dylan. Adamus shot back, a mix of frustration and jest in his tone. I would never give up, he retorted, a competitive spark in his eyes. You want a piece of this? We can go right now. I've got a couple of quarters left. We can keep playing. Sophia grinned, her playful demeanor adding to the banter. Oh, you're on, she replied, stepping forward to join the game. Let's see if I can break your winning streak, Dylan. As Adamus, Sophia, and Dylan laughed and enjoyed their time together, their merriment was abruptly interrupted by a loud bang. They turned around, their jovial expressions fading as the front door of the arcade swung open aggressively. 3 men entered, clad in black suits with dark glasses, their demeanor exuding an air of authority akin to the mafia. The first man spoke, his voice firm and commanding. Where's Mr. George? Sophia's expression shifted, her nerves palpable as she glanced back at Adamus and Dylan. I'll be right back, she murmured, her voice tinged with apprehension. I have to handle this. With determined steps, she approached the mafia-like figures, her posture tense yet resolute. Meanwhile, Adamus and Dylan remained rooted to the spot, their expressions a mix of nervousness, confusion, and concern, silently watching Sophia's brave approach. Sophia walked briskly behind the counter, her heart pounding with trepidation. I'm sorry, my father isn't here, she began, her voice trembling slightly. He's in the hospital right now. He won't be back for a little while. But before she could finish, Mafia Guy 2 slammed his hand on the counter, his expression hardened. We don't care what your excuse is, he interrupted sternly. You guys are $3,000 short. Sophia's eyes widened in fear, her voice faltering as she stammered, I'm sorry, it's just, business has been hard. My dad has been in the hospital for a while now, and I have to do all this by myself. Mafia Guy 1 interjected, his tone menacing. We had a deal. You pay us, and we make sure that nothing happens to your arcade store. He exchanged a knowing glance with Mafia Guy 3, who responded with a subtle nod. As the tension in the arcade reached a fever pitch, Mafia Guy 3 stepped forward, his menacing presence casting a shadow over the room. His skin was a sickly shade of green, rough and scaly like the hide of a reptile, with patches of dried, cracked scales covering his arms and face. His eyes gleamed with a sinister yellow hue, slitted like those of a predatory lizard, and his nostrils flared with each ragged breath dot glinting in the dim light of the arcade, while his tongue flicked out with a sinister hiss, forked like that of a serpent. With a swift motion, he aimed the acidic stream at one of the arcade machines, the corrosive substance melting through the metal and plastic with alarming speed. The acid caused a small explosion. The machine sizzled and smoked, its once vibrant colors now marred by the destructive force of the acid. Sophia gasped in horror as she backed away, her hands trembling as she watched the destruction unfold before her. Just moments before, Adamus and Dylan had been watching from a table, their eyes on the sharp-dressed men cornering Sophia. I don't know, Adamus, Dylan began, his voice tinged with concern. It seems sketchy. I think we should leave. Before Adamus could respond, a sudden explosion rocked the arcade as one of the arcade machines burst into flames. Dylan's eyes widened in alarm as he turned to Adamus. Let's get out of here, he urged urgently. But Adamus shook his head, determination etched on his features. No, we can't leave without Sophia, he insisted, his voice resolute. Dylan hesitated, his gaze flickering back to the chaos unfolding near the counter. I don't think they're gonna hurt her, he reasoned, his voice strained with uncertainty. They're just trying to scare her. Adamus listened intently as Dylan continued, his words sinking in. I recognize them. They're part of the Snake Mafia, Dylan explained grimly. In the small section of City C that we live in, there are a lot of super gangs, and these are one of them. They go around collecting money for protection from them. As the chaos unfolded before him, Adamus whispered to himself, a sense of urgency coursing through him. Anytime now. This is the time for you to start working, Crystal. I'm counting on you, Mani Padme Crystal. Turning around, Adamus realized Dylan was no longer by his side. A pang of disappointment swept over him. Damn, bro, you really gonna leave me? He thought to himself, feeling a twinge of abandonment. Adamus stood up and walked toward the conflict, his resolve firm. Hey, you guys, he called out with newfound confidence. She says she doesn't have the money. So maybe you should leave. Mafia Guy 2 chuckled condescendingly. Kid, get out of here. This has got nothing to do with you. Adamus's response was unwavering. If you mess with one of my friends, you gotta mess with me. Mafia Guy 1 demanded the $3,000 as Adamus stood his ground. Okay, I will. I have the $3,000 in my pocket right now, Adamus replied calmly, his hand hovering near his pocket. Sophia interjected, her voice trembling with worry. You don't have to do that, Adamus. I promise I will pay you back. But Adamus was resolute. As Mafia Guy 1 advanced toward him, Adamus feigned compliance, playing with his pocket. Then, with speed, he withdrew his hand and delivered a powerful punch to the man's face. With all his force behind it, the blow sent Mafia Guy 1 staggering backward, his body crumpling as he fell to the ground, knocked out cold. With a triumphant stance, Adamus raised his leg and placed his foot atop Mafia Guy 1, asserting his dominance over the fallen foe. A smirk played on his lips as he extended his hand, fingers curled into a fist, exuding an air of confidence. "You guys need to pay me for protection," he declared, his voice laced with amusement. "Let me guess. The only one among you with superpowers is the one over there who shot acid out of his mouth." "You guys need to pay me for protection," he declared, his voice laced with amusement. "Let me guess, the only one here with superpowers is that guy over there who spits acid. You, lizard mouth. You'd be the first one I take down." The Mafia members exchanged uneasy glances. The one he'd just called Lizard Mouth bristled, his face twisting with anger. "Who you calling Lizard Mouth?" he snapped. Before they could react further, Adamus let out a taunting laugh. "Get your acid ready to kill this kid," Mafia Guy 2 muttered under his breath, his tone dripping with menace. Unfazed, Adamus issued a warning of his own. "I have to warn you guys," he began, his tone tinged with a hint of menace. "I'm a trained fighter, and I'm pretty fast. My sprint speed is around 27.8 miles per hour." He then turned his attention to the third Mafia member, his gaze steady and unwavering. "And you, Lizard Mouth," he taunted, "your acid may be deadly, but it looks too slow to catch me. Come at me." The lizard man's eyes flared with rage. "Don't call me Lizard Mouth," he shouted, his voice cracking with fury. "We're gonna kill you, kid." With a guttural yell, Lizard Mouth unleashed a torrent of acid in Adamus's direction. Adamus sprang into action, his speed blurring his form. In one fluid burst of agility, he dashed straight toward the attack, sliding effortlessly beneath the sizzling stream and emerging unscathed on the other side. Landing gracefully in front of Lizard Mouth, Adamus flashed a confident smirk. "I told you I'm pretty fast," he quipped, his voice tinged with triumph. Without missing a beat, Adamus delivered a swift punch to Lizard Mouth's face, followed by a powerful blow to his stomach. Lizard Mouth scoffed, taunting, "You hit like a girl." Adamus's response was swift and decisive. "No, I just don't have powers," he retorted. With a fluid motion, he leaped into the air, executing a spinning roundhouse kick aimed squarely at Lizard Mouth's neck. The impact sent Lizard Mouth crashing to the ground, incapacitated. "I don't kick like a girl," Adamus declared, his confidence unwavering. But before he could savor his victory, the second Mafia member lunged forward, grabbing hold of Adamus. With a sudden twist, they both tumbled out of the arcade, crashing onto the streets below. The impact knocked the air out of Adamus, but he knew he had to act fast. As they landed in a heap on the pavement, Adamus felt the weight of his assailant pressing down on him. But his focus was on breaking free. With a surge of determination, he regained his bearings. Pushing against the ground with all his strength, Adamus managed to twist his body to the side, breaking the hold of the Mafia thug. Now in control, he scrambled to his feet, ready to retaliate. With a deft judo throw, he took advantage of his opponent's momentum. Stepping forward, Adamus positioned himself beside the thug, his right hand gripping the collar of the thug's shirt. With a swift motion, he dropped his hips and twisted, using the assailant's own force against him. In a blur of motion, Adamus pivoted on his left foot, sweeping his right leg behind the thug's legs. At the same time, he pulled sharply on the thug's collar, driving him over his hip and onto the unforgiving pavement. The thug hit the ground with a thud, his body skidding slightly before coming to a halt. Adamus stood over him, breathing heavily but victorious. The adrenaline surged through his veins as he scanned the area for any more threats. As Adamus glanced up, his heart racing with adrenaline, he found himself faced with a dire predicament. The first Mafia member, gun drawn, leveled it directly at him with a chilling question hanging in the air. "So, kid, you're fast. But are you faster than a bullet?" Adamus felt the weight of the situation pressing down on him. His mind raced as he tried to think of a way out, but the cold metal of the gun stared back at him, mocking his martial arts skills. "Heh, your martial arts is not going to protect you from this bullet," the thug sneered, his finger tightening on the trigger. Just as despair began to settle in, a voice cut through the tension like a knife. Sophia rushed out of the store, screaming, her words desperate and pleading. "Please stop. I promise. By the end of the week, I will have all the money ready for you guys. Just don't kill my friends," she cried, tears rushing down her face. Adamus's heart sank at the sight of Sophia's distress. He knew he had to act fast, not just for himself, but for her and their friends. The Mafia guy slowly starts to put his gun down, but before he can fully lower it, Lizard Mouth appears, his face bruised and menacing. "No, before we leave, let me get a couple punches in," he growls. The Mafia guy hesitates for a moment, then nods. "Just teach him a lesson." "Don't kill him," he orders, his gun now pointed back at Adamus. "Kid, if you move, I'm gonna shoot you." Adamus braces himself as Lizard Mouth charges, fists flying. The first punch snaps his head to the side, pain exploding across his cheek. Before he can recover, another slams into his ribs, driving the air from his lungs. Blow after blow rains down, each strike reverberating through his body like a hammer. Blood fills his mouth, his vision swims, and his legs threaten to buckle. Lizard Mouth's laughter echoes as the relentless punches drive Adamus to the brink, but he grits his teeth, refusing to fall. Sophia watches, tears streaming down her face, her hands clenched into fists of frustration and fear. She screams, "Stop it." But her plea seems to fall on deaf ears as Lizard Mouth continues his brutal assault on Adamus. Then, suddenly, as if by some miracle, Lizard Mouth stops punching Adamus and backs off slowly. Adamus, still dazed and bleeding, looks up at Lizard Mouth, his expression a mixture of confusion and relief. "So, you're done," he manages to say through gritted teeth. But then Adamus notices something strange. He sees a movement in the shadows on the ground, a flicker of movement that catches his eye. His heart skips a beat as he realizes what it is. Is that Omnimorph, the number 3rd hero? Part of the big three named the Omega Force? Adamus wonders to himself, a mix of disbelief and hope flooding his thoughts. Omnimorph stepped forward, his red cape billowing behind him in the cool night breeze. His gaze was steady and unyielding as he surveyed the scene before him. "Enough," he said, his voice calm but carrying the weight of command. Adamus's eyes widened, taking in the imposing figure. Omnimorpha's long, silky black hair flowed down to his shoulders, catching the faint glint of streetlights. His Brazilian heritage was evident in the subtle cadence of his accent, each word deliberate and clear. His suit, a bold blend of black and white, clung to his form like sculpted armor, its sleek design radiating both agility and power. Around each wrist gleamed a high-tech golden bracelet, intricate and pulsing faintly with hidden energy. The red cape at his back shifted with every movement, a regal slash of color against the night. Dylan stands beside him, his stance strong and protective. He locks eyes with Adamus. Adamus tells Dylan, "I thought you left me for a second there." Dylan responds, his voice filled with reassurance, "No, bro. I left to go grab a superhero. I used my superhero insurance. It's the last one I got, since I'm an A-ranked citizen." Omnimorph turns to Dylan, his expression curious. "So, citizen, why did you call me here?" he asks. Dylan replies without hesitation, "My friend was getting jumped." "Can you stop it?" Omnimorph considers this for a moment before responding, "What rank citizen is your friend?" Adamus, feeling a surge of frustration, yells out, "I'm AC rank, but I don't need your help." Omnimorph's gaze shifts to Adamus, his tone firm. "It doesn't matter. I'm not going to help a low-ranked citizen. I'm an S-rank superhero. I only help ranked citizens and higher." As Omnimorph delivers his verdict, the group of Mafia members, along with Lizardmouth, leave, their threats hanging in the air. "We'll be back tomorrow," one of them sneers, a menacing grin etched on his face. Seeing the Mafia members depart, Adamus feels a mix of relief and frustration. Despite their departure, he knows they'll have to face them again soon. Omnimorph turns to Dylan. "This still counts as a point from your insurance," he says, his voice holding a hint of sympathy. Dylan nods, understanding. "Thanks, Omnimorph. I appreciate it." With that, Omnimorph nods once more, then takes to the sky, his cape trailing behind him. Adamus watches him go, a sense of admiration mixed with disappointment lingering in his heart. Turning to Dylan, Adamus offers a weary smile. "Thanks for trying, man," he says, grateful for his friend's efforts. Dylan returns the smile, his eyes reflecting determination. "We'll figure something out, bro. We always do." Dylan, Adamus, and Sophia all gathered together in a conversation after the chaos. Adamus laughs out loud. "I guess that OM Mani Padme Hum crystal didn't work." Dylan joins in the laughter. "Yes, you're going to be taking a serious dump." Sophia, looking puzzled, asks, "So what are you guys talking about? But anyways, please don't get involved with my problems." Adamus responds reassuringly, "Don't worry. I will get you that money. I promise." But talking about eating and money. "Adamus, are you trying to take us out to eat?" To which Dylan replies, "Sure. Where do you want to go?" Sophia chimes in excitedly, "Let's get chicken." "I love chicken," Sophia adds with a grin. Dylan's expression shifts to confusion. "I never had chicken before. It's for low-class citizens. That's what my father always told me." Adamus and Sophia exchange surprised glances. Sophia then reassures him, "Dylan, chicken is delicious. It's not about class, it's about taste. Trust me, you'll love it." Dylan hesitates for a moment before nodding. "Okay, let's give it a try then." With their plan set, the trio heads off in search of a chicken restaurant, ready to enjoy a meal together and put the chaos of the day behind them. They gather together and talk in Dylan's car while eating the chicken. With a giant smile on his face and a piece of chicken in his hand, Dylan exclaims, "I think this is the greatest thing I have ever eaten in my life." Adamus and Sophia laugh, and Adamus says, "I told you." Dylan continues, his enthusiasm evident. "My father always told me to do everything at 100%. When you work, work. When you laugh, laugh. When you eat, eat like it's your last meal." Adamus raises an eyebrow. "What are you trying to get at?" But Dylan continues, undeterred. "But he always told me not to eat chicken. Our family worked too hard, my mom starting off as F-rank citizens, and the hard work my dad endured to improve our situation. He said we should have higher standards for ourselves." Dylan chuckles. "He was so wrong. This is delicious." Sophia smiles warmly at Dylan. "Your father may have had good intentions, but sometimes you just need to enjoy the simple pleasures in life." Dylan nods in agreement, savoring another bite of chicken. "You're right, Sophia. And right now, this chicken is the best thing I've ever tasted." Adamus interjects, "Isn't your dad running for president?" Dylan responds confidently, "Yes, and I think he's gonna win." Then after they get done eat Dylan dropping Sophia off at home, Dylan parks in front of Adamus' house. He turns to Adamus with a concerned look. "Okay, Adamus. I'll see you tomorrow at school. I hope you get better from those bruises. Don't be so hasty to risk your life for other people, bro. I know you want to be a hero and everything, but the fact is, you don't have powers. You almost died out there." Adamus responds with a smile on his face. "I will always help my friends, Dylan." "Okay, I'll see you tomorrow," he says as they shake hands. Dylan watches Adamus walk towards his house before driving off, feeling a mix of worry and admiration for his friend. Adamus walks into his house, finding his mother standing there with her foot tapping the floor impatiently. "Where have you been? You're late for our soap opera show. We watch every night at 8 o'clock, she scolds. Adamus interrupts her, a note of frustration in his voice. "Mom, I told you I'm grown up now. I'm not watching soap operas with you." His mother's face fills with worry as she notices the bruises covering Adamus' body. She rushes to him and pulls him into a tight hug, her concern evident in her voice. "Adamus, why do you have bruises all over your body?" she asks, her worry growing as she examines him closely. As his mother, Almesa, hugs him, Adamus says, "Mom, listen, it's complicated," but she interrupts him. "I know what happened. It always happens. You're risking your life to save someone else or get involved in a situation that you shouldn't get involved in. You are not a hero, son. Please stop. You're just like your father." Adamus pushes his mom away gently, a mixture of frustration and hurt on his face. "You always bring up my dad. Where is he? Why won't you ever answer that question? You loved him so much. What's wrong with me being like him? Why have I never met any of our family members? This house is full of pictures of just me and you." His voice trembles with emotion, his eyes searching hers for answers long overdue. The weight of unspoken truths hangs heavy in the air, begging to be acknowledged and addressed. Almesa screams, her voice filled with emotion. Because I don't want you risking your life for strangers like you did. I should be more important than random strangers. Why risk your life saving strangers if you can just save your family? Adamus responds, trying to reason with her. I can do both, Mom. But Almace's voice rises as she yells, go to your room. Adamus lays in bed, the weight of his mother's words heavy on his mind. I wish I was strong enough to protect the people I love. Like Sophia and my mom, Dylan, and my whole neighborhood. Possibly the world, he thinks to himself. Feeling a sudden surge of determination, Adamus sits up and assumes a meditational stance. Maybe, if I say those words on the tablet as I meditate, he murmurs to himself. Adamus starts to chant aloud, Om Mani Padme Hum, repeating the sacred mantra hundreds of times until his voice grows hoarse and he drifts into sleep. In the stillness of his room, the words echo softly, filling him with a sense of peace and purpose. As Adamus slept, he gradually woke up in a dark, mysterious room. The sky above was a canvas of stars, shimmering like countless diamonds, their brilliance outshining any description. The floor felt damp under his feet. For him to discern anything. With each step, his movements sent small ripples through the water, creating soft splashes around him. Adamus found himself dressed in an orange monk's outfit, the fabric of the robe known as a gi draped around him. He tugged at the fabric, feeling its rough texture against his skin, and spoke aloud, his voice echoing in the stillness of the room. Where am I? Am I dreaming? As he walked, millions of lotus flowers bloomed from the waters on the ground. Adamus was confused, but he reached out and grabbed one of the lotus flowers. Suddenly, a giant creature appeared in the sky. This colossal figure manifested with awe-inspiring majesty and divine power. It had 1,000 arms outstretched, radiating an aura of serene authority. 3 closed eyes adorned its serene face, each representing omniscience, omnipresence, and omnipotence. Clad in resplendent garments and adorned with divine ornaments, including crowns encrusted with jewels, necklaces shimmering with celestial light, bracelets adorned with intricate patterns, and anklets that chimed with each movement. The creature exuded otherworldly magnificence. Gazing down upon Adamus with eyes that hold the weight of infinite wisdom, Avalokiteshvara spoke. His voice rolled through the star-strewn heavens like distant thunder, each word vibrating through the water and the lotus blooms. My name is Avalokiteshvara. Interesting. How is this possible? The black lotus, Sanyata, has taken form. And I see, you are now the bearer of the Om Mani Padme Hum crystal. Adamus, his breath catching in his chest, felt the words pierce deeper than sound. Who are you? He whispered, his voice nearly swallowed by the vast, cosmic symphony echoing all around them. The Bodhisattva's voice echoed a celestial whisper. Did you not hear me? He repeated, his tone carrying the weight of ages. I am Avalokiteshvara, he intoned, bearer of the Om Mani Padme Hum crystal, the mantra that weaves existence. I shall bestow upon you a portion of my divine power. Avalokiteshvara, with a gaze that pierced the depths of Adamus's soul, spoke with solemnity. You have the exact same life essence as my brother Vajrapani. Within you lies the potential for greatness. His voice echoed softly, carrying the weight of ancient wisdom. The love I can feel from you, from your heart, that you feel for your mother, reminds me of the love I feel for my mother, Prajnaparamita, he continued, his words wrapping around Adamus like a comforting embrace in the darkness. But I also sense great evil on your planet, he continued, his tone turning somber. The rebirth of Ravana has already happened. We don't have time. With a thunderous clap of his countless hands, Avalokiteshvara infused Adamus with a surge of celestial energy, illuminating the darkness with a radiant glow. You are deemed worthy, he declared, his voice echoing across the cosmos. As the heavens trembled with the weight of Avalokiteshvara's blessing, Adamus awoke from his slumber, the memory of the divine encounter lingering like a dream. What was that? He wondered.